Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. So happy you are here. My goal with this channel is to bring inspirational speakers to the mic in the field of yoga, massage, bodywork, and beyond. Follow us at Native Yoga and check us out at nativeyogacenter.com. All right, let's begin. Welcome to Native Yoga Toddcast. My name is Todd McLaughlin, and this week my special guest is Rohil Jethmalani, and he can be found on his website, purnayogabali.com. Also, follow him on Instagram, shivatman.yoga, and definitely go check him on YouTube. He's got some great videos and a plethora of information to share at Shivatman Yoga. The links are in the description, and I really enjoyed this opportunity to meet Rohil. He's based in Indonesia on the island of Bali, and he's steeped in the yoga history, philosophy, culture, and practice, and he has a very sweet, down-to-earth nature. I really enjoyed talking with him, and I hope that you learned something from this episode. I feel like he shares some great points. He's got his finger on the pulse in relation to where we are currently in the world, and his optimism and positivity, I think, is absolutely essential for our personal development and growth. So please let us know what you think. Send us a message, an email, comment here, there, wherever. And we really appreciate your support. Have a wonderful day. All right, let's begin. I feel honored and grateful to have Rohil Jethmalani here today with me on the podcast. Rohil, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh man, I found you on YouTube. Your YouTube channel is incredible. Everyone listening can check you out. I have the links in the description. And I saw that you're teaching currently in Indonesia, in Bali. Can you tell me a little bit about what Bali life is like currently?
Bali life is good. I came here back first time in 2018. And then I came here to settle down kind of in 2019, just before the pandemic hit, a few months before. And that was also around the time I met my partner, my wife. And so it kind of, Bali pulled me in. I just came to teach at a yoga teacher training school. But eventually it just sort of happened that I stayed back, and I've now made my life here.
Wow, that's so cool, man. It's a beautiful island. Where are you from originally?
I'm from India, so I was born in Mumbai and brought up pretty much most of my life in Pune, which is another big city close by to Mumbai.
Yes, amazing. I have had a chance to go to Mumbai. It's an amazing city, full of life, full of energy. Did you? What style or what was your experience growing up with what is your memory of coming across yoga, and how was yoga portrayed to you as a youngster?
So both my parents are yoga practitioners, and that was my first contact with yoga. They had a teacher that would come over in their neighborhood and would be teaching classes in different friends' houses, and they would pull me along for those classes. So at the time, of course, I didn't really know why I was there. I just wanted to be outside playing cricket or football with my friends, and didn't really want to be practicing these breathing techniques or doing these practices. But I think it had quite a profound impact on me, which I didn't realize at that time. And then I rediscovered yoga for myself when I was in university. So when I did my bachelor's, which was in India, I was staying at a hostel, and my roommate, he hurt his back. So he was basically doing yoga classes and had this big book, which he was of different yoga sequences that he was practicing regularly. And so he was doing his practice every morning. And so I said, okay, I should join you. And I kind of joined him along and would look at his sequences. And that was how yoga came back to me on my own. And then since that time, it's kind of been a daily practice ever since.
Very cool. Amazing. What main styles have influenced your current practice?
So I have practiced. So I began with, of course, Hatha. That was the style my parents were also practicing. I've also practiced Iyengar yoga for a while, and then when I got into it by myself, I really got into Ashtanga Vinyasa. So that was my predominant self practice for a long time. I've also done a lot of meditation, a lot of silence, Vipassana meditation. So it's kind of today I would say it's a mixture of Ashtanga and Hatha from the asana perspective of yoga and meditation, Vipassana, and a few other styles. Yeah.
Amazing. In your Vipassana practice, was that under the lineage of Goenka or under a different school?
Yeah, under Goenka. Yeah.
Amazing. So
Mhm.
have you sat several 10-day courses?
I've sat a few 10-day courses, I think four in total.
Um,
Uh, and I've tried as much as possible. Like I don't have it as a daily practice where I do 2 hours of sitting a day. I don't have the time and the bandwidth for it, but I try to sit at least a half an hour every day. Yeah.
I agree, Rohil. That's a challenging routine to follow. 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. And then also, I'm guessing, like you said, you have a hatha yoga practice as well. So that could consume quite a few, quite a few hours in the day.
Yeah.
I hear you. That's
Yeah, it kind of stacks up, and then you want to do some breathing exercises, and it just like you don't have any social life anymore if you want to also do work. And yeah, so it's yeah.
good point. Can you tell me a little bit what it was like transitioning to Bali? Do you feel like Bali is very welcoming to the international yoga community, or do you feel like you have to work really hard to be able to make it work in Bali?
So I think I was very lucky when I came, because I initially came to Bali because I was offered a job. So it wasn't like I came to Bali looking for work.
Yeah.
And this was first in 2018. I came to do a couple of trainings, and then in 2019. Uh, Today, I would say that Bali is very different from the Bali I arrived 6 years ago.
Mm,
Today, it's much more competitive as a yoga teacher, and also from the you said about the feeling welcome. I think that the Balinese were much more open to outsiders coming and working here and running businesses here back then. And I think that has kind of changed post COVID and the whole boom, especially with the new government that has come in to Indonesia last year, at the end of last year. They are kind of cracking down quite a bit more on foreigner teachers. They want to replace foreigner teachers with local teachers. That's their kind of aim and their goal, and it's understandable.
yeah.
So it's not as welcoming as it was 6 7 years ago to come here and establish a career here.
Oh, so interesting. I can imagine. I get it. That's cool. Do you feel though, because you have history with yoga being from India, that helps to make that a little bit easier?
I think definitely if you have a particular skill, which is more than just being able to teach a good yoga class itself, especially specific knowledge, whether it's in anatomy, it's in yoga philosophy or history, or it's leading people through meditation, particular technique. I think those are the kind of niches that do really well.
Yeah.
Also, if you kind of people who merge together two different things, I think Bali is a place where there's a lot of experimentation with, especially people who come to do yoga here, whether they are on holiday or they're just here for a couple of months.
Yeah.
They're looking for something which is different from what their yoga studios back home offer.
Yeah.
So if you can, for example, you can merge sound healing and some other modality, or any two or three modalities in a new creative way, I think that's what really works here in Bali.
Very cool. What has been your niche, Rohil? Where do you feel like which direction do you gravitate toward in relation to providing something that you feel is very valuable to your guests?
So, because for a long period of time, my self practice was focused primarily on Ashtanga, and my wife also, she is also an Ashtanga practitioner. And so we thought that that's a niche to look at,
Yeah.
especially because there was no resident Ashtanga retreats in Bali. A lot of people, of course, teachers come from all over the world and have retreats here. So that's kind of where we went with, and we wanted to also focus quite a bit on personal development. So we have our retreats are mainly Ashtanga and personal development. So we help individuals establish strong good habits, focusing on free expression and communication. Um, and basically it's a mixture of Ayurveda, yoga, philosophy, and all these topics as well.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Amazing. Can you talk a little bit about your approach when you work with a group versus when you work one on one? Do you gravitate toward one or the other teaching or information transmission environments better than another?
So I would say that I have more experience in group settings, especially because I started teaching in yoga teacher trainings back in 2017. So I was teaching in Goa for a couple of years. And it's pretty much like these teacher training schools. I would 1 month be with one group, and then that group would go back, and a new group would start with the next month. So it was just month after month. And uh, essentially teaching yoga. I love teaching yoga philosophy, yoga history, but I can talk for hours on those subjects. And I think that that was mainly the in a group setting of 15, 20, 30 people sometimes. And then when I came to Bali, it was the same. And the one-on-one setting, I love working one-on-one because I can really get to know somebody uh, much more deeply than in a group setting, and I can really see how I can give them very individually tailored advice, or come to the crux of what they're dealing with, which I can't do in a group setting. And but earlier one-on-one for me was just something which I would do if somebody requested me. And usually some student would come up to me and say, hey, do you do one-on-one sessions? I would love to have sessions with you. And then that's how it would flow organically. I would never kind of sell them.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, I yeah, started to also focus a bit more on my one-on-one offerings, because it's something I can do online as well. I don't have to do it in person, so that flexibility I like as well.
Yeah. Amazing. When you mentioned teaching in Goa, I'm curious, did you ever meet up with or practice Ralph Naujicot?
I know of him, but I've never met him, or I didn't practice with him.
I was just curious
I think
because, yeah,
he passed recently as well.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he's
But
amazing.
had the chance to meet.
We had a chance to practice with him in Goa. It was really amazing experience. I thought maybe you two had crossed paths, and it was sad when he passed away. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
Did
Mhm.
were you affiliated with the Purple Yoga at Goa or a
So,
different place?
so I used to do some sessions for Purple Valley,
Purple Valley. I'm so
but it
sorry.
was kind of like guest sessions. So,
Hmm.
like, especially where they had teachers who didn't really teach yoga philosophy, and they had a lot of requests from their students for more yoga philosophy or history. Then I would go in to deliver those guest lectures.
Yeah.
But I was teaching at a teacher training school called Upaya. I don't think it exists anymore.
Uh huh.
But it was basically like a multi-style 200-hour
Yeah.
teacher training
Yeah.
program. Yeah.
Very
Mhm.
cool. Can
Yeah.
if you let me in the group setting, if you are wanting to introduce yoga philosophy and you get the sense that the group is relatively new to the wide world of yoga philosophy. What is your favorite place to start?
I think with a in a group setting, when I start speaking about yoga philosophy, I would start mainly with the five poisons of the mind, the five kleshas, cravings, aversions, the ego, fear, and ignorance, because I think these are some things that are relatable to everybody, regardless of their background, their context, where they grew up. Everybody has experienced those things, and misery, suffering that results from it. So I think um, that's how I usually like to introduce or get into the yoga philosophy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That makes sense in the relationship to like a universal concepts that the five kleshas that doesn't really push too many buttons if there's different religious background. And do you agree?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it doesn't, and I think ultimately a lot within the yoga philosophy can be spoken in a way that is um, acceptable for most religious backgrounds, I would say.
Yes.
It's only when we come to things talking about the energy body and the chakras and things like that where it can get, for some people, might find it a bit uncomfortable or something like that.
Yes.
But I think most of the philosophy, especially with the Yoga Sutras, it's quite, um, how would you, secular, you could call it, yeah, in that
Yes.
sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you try to teach and or relate concepts like subtle body or energy body to students that are new to the idea?
So when I speak about the philosophy, I like to go first from the most scientific perspective. And I guess it's just the kind of students that I usually end up teaching yoga philosophy to. So here in Bali, for example, a lot of the teacher trainings that I taught at before this would have people who are um, primarily younger people who've they've dipped their legs in yoga, but they don't really have an in-depth understanding of any of it. So I try to break it down from the perspective of the nervous system, understanding how the nervous system functions, the endocrine system, our hormonal body, how all of it is interrelated, what stress does to us, what are the hormones involved, how yoga can help with it. And I feel that that first layer of nervous system, then the second layer, I start to get into the gut and the gut brain connection. So it's more scientific in the beginning, and I think that creates a nice foundation where people also gain. I guess in any form of teaching, a lot of what a good teacher does is also establish trust, right? That they are an expert on the subject, they know what they're talking about. And I think that talking from a more scientific perspective and language helps establish that trust, and from there I can move on to other more the subtler aspects, the energy body things, which I guess science, you could say science hasn't yet caught up with, or there's no apparatus to really
Yeah.
break it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
But people are more open to receive that information and knowledge um, once I have spoken in their vocabulary first, or the vocabulary they are more comfortable
That's
with.
That's cool, Rohil. That makes sense. And the way you explained from the different systems in the body in the science realm makes me think of the koshas and almost how similar that is, even though the koshas seem to go a little more uh, in the energy world. But you're
Mhm.
right. Like if I can relate to nervous system, endocrine system, digestive system, that then if I go to like the food body or the rice body and then the air body and then the mental body, that's a good point. That makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What about when someone says, Rohil, I really want to read a book on yoga, and with your background having philosophy study and history study. And if we were to mention this idea of like dual teachings versus non-dual teachings, so maybe Yoga Sutras versus non-dual Shaiva Tantra, how do you feel the kind of layering of the building of information, if it was related to like building a house or a construction site where we got to get the foundation down, then the walls, then the roof? Do you think there's a formula that you follow, or do you feel like each person, do you try to read each person's personality type and then think which philosophy might be what they already could grasp easily, or to give them something radically different that makes their mind have to work on something new? Do you have any sense about how do we do this? How do we how do we do this, Rohil?
Yes, I think if from that perspective, I'm a bit more, like you said, a bit more intuitive to see what are the individuals, the individuals' characteristics, their makeup, and what are they more attracted to, and give them something that's more down their alley. So usually I would, because also uh, I feel that if you give them something that blows their mind, a lot of the times people, when they read something that's really confronts their own belief systems, usually judgment comes in and they kind of are pushed away. So I prefer and as a teacher also, I'm not so. That's my own, you could say, character as a teacher, is that I like to ease people into things rather than break into patterns and so on. So I find that um, if if there's a smooth entry into the philosophy, it's somehow it creates a positive association rather than a harsh entry. So usually something that I try to find, maybe ask them questions about what kind of books have they read in the past, what kind of philosophies are they already interested in, what kind of practices or tools call out to them, and then based on that I guide them to read in that direction. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Can you think of a aspect of yoga philosophy that has really opened your mind recently, and or is there an element of it that you're really connecting with currently?
So I think that it's for me, I've come to this belief or this understanding now that it's a process of layers and layers kind of peeling away. And my understanding of how things work and what I thought the way things work is continually being changed and updated.
Yeah.
And I've come to the stage where I kind of um, I feel that it's not so much the exact philosophical understanding, especially at an intellectual level, which really helps us to get deeper and deeper, especially after a while. So in the beginning, yes, it does, because it opens us up to this new world within ourselves that we can now begin to explore for ourselves. But after a point, I feel like at least this is what I'm coming to right now, is that it's more about implementing it at the experiential level, and it's not so much about understanding and dissecting it further or anymore. Once we have a general grasp or depth of philosophy, I think it's more about how do we bring it into this physical reality through our habits and our day to day, the way we deal with life and so on. I think then it becomes more about a darshan, a lived experience of it.
Great point, Rohil. Great point. That, do you feel like that's easier said than done, or are you finding that actually that's just a natural evolution?
I think it's always hard to do it at an experiential, practical level, because life doesn't flow linearly, unlike knowledge, which can grow linearly or you kind of you gain insight, and that stays with you. It's not like it goes away, but you could start a meditation practice and fall off it, or you could get deeper in a particular aspect of, I don't know, your asana practice or your breathing practice, and it could be reversed if you don't do it for a while.
Yes.
Whereas knowledge is something, or wisdom is something that stays with you. So I think that um, trying to keep that state of mind, and knowledge or wisdom is something that is through that experience is also accumulating or getting refined, because you can speak about, for example, things like craving and aversion or the law of karma and things like this, but uh, the moment you try through your own daily practice, whatever that daily practice might be, to tap into this, to this understanding, not just at an intellectual level but at an experiential level, that's when you refine that knowledge. In some ways that wisdom gets sharper.
Yes. Amazing. You're right. When you brought up the term karma, I recently came across a term, Ranana Bandhana, and
Uh-huh.
I hadn't heard that word before. And I guess the rana is like a debt,
Mhm.
like a karmic debt, and the bandhana, which I thought was cool, is like I've understood from abanda in
Yeah.
terms of Ashtanga yoga, like a mula bandha, uddiyana bandha, where you're
Mhm.
squeezing, contracting, or to bind. So the idea of like a ranana bandhana, of like a karmic, potentially maybe you and I have some type of connection, or from the bigger picture side, and that there's through that connection, we need to work something out, or maybe from a past life. Now we join up, and it's like, okay, there's this thing we need to work out. And when I heard that, it really deepened my understanding of karma a little more, because
Mhm.
sometimes I feel like it's just a word I hear, and then, but I like what you were saying about putting it into experiential level. Can you talk a little bit more about karma, and the way that you're different ways that you see and connect with it in relationship to your life?
So I think karma is something that is a really simple concept, but also one that is misused or misinterpreted in many different ways. So of course we think of karma as this cause and effect, that what you sow you will reap, and what you do in the world, what energy you give out, you will get back at some point. Um, and oftentimes we think of karma as in this way of one following the other, but I would say that actually the word karma means action itself, and the law of karma is that um, embedded within each of our actions is the reward or the punishment for that action. It's already embedded within the action. It's not waiting to come
Hmm.
back to us at a
Yeah.
future point.
Yeah.
And so for example, when we think of somebody goes and steals a lot of money from someone else, and we think that, oh, that person has taken all this money, they're going to have some bad karma, and that money, maybe they're going to find themselves becoming poor in the future or something like this. And this is usually how we might think of karma. But e- essentially where we get stuck, I think, is that we oftentimes think of um, good and bad, or you could even say the quality of our life from an external perspective. So I would think of, when I think of good karma, I think of external things happening well for me. And when I think of bad karma, I think of external things happening in a wrong way. But I don't focus internally. And karma is actually an internal law, not an external law from that perspective. So I'll just explain this through a small example. So imagine someone has $20 million dollars in their bank account, but this individual on a ongoing day-to-day basis experiences emotions of irritation, anger, frustration, They are always frustrated with something or the other. So now, would you say that their quality of life is um, only defined by that $20 million in their bank account, or their quality of life is that of a frustrated and irritated person? Similarly, one may have an amazing family around them. A woman may have three children, a loving husband. Everything is going really great in her family life. She has a lot of love around her. But at this point in her life, she's regularly experiencing a lot of sadness and depression. So, would you say that her quality of life is only defined by that family around her, or her quality of life is that of an individual who is depressed or sad? And from this perspective, when we think of it from this perspective and the yogic perspective, quality of life is what's happening inside us, how we are feeling. We may have all the things going really well for us externally, but if we're not at peace with ourselves inside, then this internal that internal unease will cause us to be miserable, to suffer. And the law of karma is also based on this, what's happening inside. So when I, for example, I become really angry and my anger overpowers me, and I go and I break a bottle on somebody's head, or I harm somebody, or I murder somebody, that action that I do is creating a pattern. It's a samskara. And you spoke earlier about rananubandhana. It's creating a karmic debt with that person, which is through that action that I do, it's that pattern of anger is getting stronger. So to do that action, first of all, I had to be very agitated and disturbed internally. There was a lot of trauma, a lot of anger, and by that action, I have kind of repeated that pattern and entrenched that trauma, that it's much harder for me now to change it. It's like I take a chisel and a hammer, and I'm trying to etch a pattern deeper and deeper into a rock. So every time I do that action, I'm etching that pattern deeper, which means that what I'm experiencing internally, that disturbance, agitation, uh, is I'm etching it deeper into my subconscious or unconscious or psyche. And it's going to be that much harder for me to change that pattern. It's going to take that much longer. So actually, my reward or my punishment for the action is embedded within the action itself. And here I gave a negative example. If I would take a positive example, for example, um, if I am doing good to others, I am helping others, being compassionate towards others, in such a situation, as that pattern, that act of doing something for someone else, uh, without expecting them to pay me back in return or do anything for me in return, one may say that, oh, that person has done such a good action, they will have good karma. At some point in their life, somebody will come and shower blessings on them, or they will have good things happen to them. But actually, the reward has taken place there and then, by them doing the action itself. They have an inner sense of satisfaction. They have a more peace within themselves by being selfless in that moment, and they have improved their own inner quality of life. So their reward for their action is from that perspective embedded in the action itself. And I would say that this is really the law of karma.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I really hope that you're enjoying this episode, and I just wanted to take a moment to announce a course that I'm really excited to release. It's a free course, and it's called 8 in 8, Learn 8 Limb Yoga in 8 days. My goal is to help coach you along in the Ashtanga yoga practice in a way where we take just the sun salutations, the fundamental asanas, and the final breathing poses, break it down with some philosophy videos as well, explaining the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga in a very easy to use, friendly course that is totally free. Click the link below, check it out. Let me know what you think. All right, let's get back to the episode. Great answer, Rohil. almost maybe putting focus on the instant element, like the feeling that you have in your body while you're doing the act is the maybe the way of being able to determine if it is if the work or the action that we take is one of that's bearing fruit, that's actually sweet. I agree with
Yes,
you.
exactly. Yeah.
I think you're right. I agree with you. It is true. I feel like most of the time with karma, it's like, okay, it'll come later. It's going to come later. You do good now, it'll come later on. It's going to come back. But I agree with you, being able to get into that place of really feeling what's going on. When we look at, say, like the asana yoga world, and then maybe we put it into like, okay, what's happening in like a classic workout gym studio situation where I'm going and I think I'm just going to do my yoga and then I'll check that box and then I'm going to go then shower, go to work, and that where we get really busy and we're grateful to have access to yoga practice, but it's not maybe on the same level of like if we're on retreat with you in Bali where we get to focus all day long. What is your thoughts on ways to help students connect with some of the deeper aspects that you're talking about in relation to karma within the context of a yoga class that maybe is just focusing on physical?
Mhm.
Do you have
I think.
any insight or hints on how to make it feel a little more depth?
Mhm. I think that ultimately I mean, doing asana is great because we are reconnecting with our body. We're taking time to breathe mindfully, hopefully, and it's amazing in and of itself. I think that um, I would say that for me, the way to make your yoga practice deeper is to take it into all aspects of our life. And I'm actually, from that perspective, I think quite unconventional in how I think that should be done. Because I think that especially today, where we have so many things that are vying for our attention, we have so many distractions present with our smartphone and so on. I think it's no longer enough to live a life where we are um, peaceful, where the mind is calm, where the mind is more in its natural inherent state of tranquility, to just simply do a yoga practice in the morning and then do a meditation at some point. It's still really hard to stay in that tranquility. And I think here is where we have to focus on our attention itself. Where is our attention going? And I think because there are so many social media applications that all want our attention, that are making money off our attention, there's a whole marketplace in data and attention now. So um, realizing that actually being very you kind of thinking of our attention as a scarce resource and really applying it in that way, that it's something really valuable and scarce, and so I'm going to really be aware of how I am uh, putting my attention out there and creating a system to harness this attention. Where I think for our ancestors, um, 10,000 years ago, before they were so busy and so distracted, meditation was the ideal way, right, to harness this attention, to maintain focus and so on. But now in their lifetime, they would meditate, and then after that, they would sit around the fire. They can continue to stay in that state. But today, for most of us, it's we have to work, we have hundreds of messages, emails to reply to. And so I think for today, it's not only just meditation and the traditional tools of yoga, but we also have to develop a system in our life where we are trying to minimize distraction and maximize doing things that are really help us to get into a state of focus, of flow, even when it's related to our work. So even like things like scheduling and being more mindful of how we plan our days I think is also a part of getting into a deeper practice of yoga where we can be more still and calm, even amidst so many duties and responsibilities.
Oh, well said, Rohil. When you bring up the aspect of the marketplace around attention, that's a wild thought, isn't it? Like, to that, that actually is very helpful. That's a really helpful concept, because I think a lot of us are engaging with these applications purely from the drug effect, like the effect of the high that you get from having, just like being able to here, I'm going to hand you my attention, Rohil, and just have fun with it. And that way I can just like turn off in a way, and I hand it over to you, which is a really interesting bargain, isn't it? Like in relation to the idea that you're presenting of, no, actually harness your attention and conserve it, or see it as an incredibly valuable resource. And every little bit that we put into appreciating it and cultivating it potentially would help maybe nullify some of those effects that we were speaking earlier of feeling like bad karma, or like everything around me is so perfect, but why is this inside feeling so heavy and so difficult? And so do you think then we start with cultivating awareness of attention? And when you do one-on-one coaching, I mean, we're in such a interesting environment, because like we are using the technology right now for you and I to converse. So we can obviously see that there's this like really incredible potential for positivity that can come out of these technological advances. And at the same time, like fire and just grabbing it, and we could be burned so badly. It also has this really intense destructive power at the same time. Can you, I love the name that you have for your handle on your social media, Shiv Atman. Can you break down a little bit the concept of Shiva and Atman and how you blended those two words together, and what that means to you?
So Shiva, as many of you might know, is a god in Hinduism. It's also Shiva is considered to be the first yogi, and Shiva is an energy that I am very drawn to. So it's also the energy of transformation or destruction. And ever since I got into yoga, and even before that, when growing up as with parents who practiced yoga, and a grandfather who was quite a religious Hindu, so doing a lot of the pujas and ceremonies and chanting mantra. And so Shiva was always the god that I kind of really vibed with in that sense. And so when I was thinking of the name for my personal brand, Shivatman was something that came up. Um, and Atman basically means soul. So it's essentially all of us we have uh, the Atman, the soul, um, which is this aspect of pure awareness or pure consciousness. That's how I define the soul, because the soul is, of course, defined in many ways. But if we think of awareness itself, awareness, usually when I think of awareness, I think of it as focused upon some object. So when I'm aware of something, whether it's my breath, whether it's my body in the asana practice, whether it's my laptop and um, what I'm trying to do when I'm doing work and so on. So usually awareness is directed at something, but awareness, which is just as it is, or consciousness as is, without being fixated upon an object, that is then pure awareness or pure consciousness. And we all have this pure awareness. We all are pure awareness and pure consciousness. And we go through life. So that is the Atman, the soul. And as we go through life, this pure awareness or pure consciousness gets wrapped around or entangled with shared belief systems and identities and so on. And we pick up all these various identities, these belief systems, and we begin to believe that we are the object of our awareness, which is those belief systems and those identities. I'm Hindu, I'm a yogi, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I am carnivore, I'm a vegan, I am a star seed, and so on and so forth. So we get caught up in the identities, thinking we are these identities, when we are actually the Atman, the awareness that became aware of that identity or that belief system. And so I'm not saying it's wrong to have a belief system. We can believe in our religion, believe in our nationality, but the problem when yoga considers it to the identification or the ego to become a poison of the mind is when we start to identify strongly with it. So we forget that who we are is much bigger than this identity. We are the consciousness and awareness itself. And the identity is something like the way I wear clothes. I'm just putting on a new set of clothes for the day or for this period in my life. Um, so that was also a name that I chose to kind of remind me of that. Yeah.
Beautifully said. Nice, Rohil.
Yeah.
Thank you. You had made mention prior to us beginning our conversation that you're an expecting father. So congratulations.
Yeah.
How
Thank you.
how is it? How are you feeling? Are you excited? Are you nervous? What type of emotions have you been feeling upon realizing that you're going to be a dad?
So this was actually something that we've been planning already for a few months before my wife got pregnant. So it didn't come as a surprise to us. We were quite preparing mentally, emotionally, and physically as well for it. So we're really, really happy and
Yeah.
joyful for this next stage in our life. And me being someone who 2 years ago, if you asked me if I wanted to be a dad, I would say never. So it was
Yeah.
a complete U-turn for me, especially after we got married.
Yes.
Um, and I think that the turning point for me happened when so we had a wedding in Bali. We wanted to have a smaller wedding. We just had about 50 guests, and mainly people who we were close to and just our closest family. But of course, in Indian culture and tradition, it's not done if you don't. So, for example, cousins and far even friends who I've not really kept in touch with for a long time wouldn't forgive me if I didn't call them for my wedding. So it's kind of and my mom was quite anxious about it. She's like, "You have to do something in India. How am I going to speak to all the relatives and all the neighbors and all the. So we 6 months after we got married here, we did another event in India
Oh, amazing.
that had about close to 200,
Oh,
250
wow.
people.
Wow.
And I think and from my wife is from Poland. So from her side, from Evelina's side, we had maybe 6 or 7 people who attended, and the rest were all from my side of the family in India.
Yeah.
And
That would have been so fun though. That would have been an amazing experience. Did she love it? Did she love I mean,
yeah, she absolutely loved it.
Indian
Yeah,
weddings are so incredible. I had a chance to go
yeah,
to one in Goa it was in monsoon season and it was amazing to be a part of. I couldn't believe
yeah,
how extensive of an experience it is. That's so
yeah,
cool. And obviously your mom was extremely proud and to be able
yeah.
to have the full experience over was it in Mumbai? Is that where you guys had the wedding?
It was in Pune.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
And I think that wedding changed my perspective on having kids,
Mm.
because I saw all, because I never met all my relatives and family from both sides and even far away acquaintances in one place, one time, one period of time. And I think just seeing all the generations and all the people, and it brought in this new way of looking at things, which was that kind of like, who am I to stop this lineage, this family from people have been uh, giving birth and having the next gen for like millions of generations for me to be here. And if I'm not a renunciate, why should I stop that just for my individual comfort from that perspective? So that was something that really flipped a switch in me.
That's
Just
so
seeing the
cool,
whole
Rohit.
family. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm so happy to hear that. I have two, my wife and I have two children, and it has been the most incredible experience. I could not be more grateful and thankful for the opportunity, as challenging and the things that come up and the different things we face is, wow, the best
yeah.
experience. And what's really interesting, Rohil, is that, I mean, not to bring up a sad note, I'm going to bring up a sad note because I hear people here in the States, they'll say, oh, they don't want to have children because they don't want to bring somebody into this world. This world is too crazy now. There's too much to be fearful of, and raising children is just too hard. And I I want to be very sensitive and respectful for my friends that are wanting to have children that are unable, because that's a very difficult thing to process and to come to terms with and have to go through. So I want to be sensitive here, but I also think that to be able to do it and to do it, oh man, incredible. And I think it brings the joy into a reason for us to feel like life is an amazing journey. Do you agree? Because in some ways, like if we say, I'm not doing it because the world is too crazy and I don't want to do that to somebody, that makes our own personal life feel a little like, well, what am I even doing here? How much more time do I have? Like, let me just hurry up and get this over with then, like that type of thing. So I'm so excited for you guys. It is really an amazing journey. And just a little side note, we just dropped our son off at college. He's 18.
Okay,
And
okay.
everybody, when you have the baby, is going to say, oh, get ready. It's going to go by so fast. And you're going to be changing diapers. You're going to say, what are you talking about? I just want to go back to doing yoga every day and like having 4 or 5 hours a day just to focus on yoga and some
Yeah,
meditation and my Vipassana and some chanting mantra and all these things.
yeah,
And then like you're really busy and you think there's no way this will go by fast. But man, I tell you, it goes by so darn fast. I can't even believe it. But I really am excited for you guys. I'm really, really excited for you. It is such an incredible journey. Um, I know, can you talk a little bit about where you see the future of yoga going? We made mention about our understanding of, how technology is in our lives for better or for worse. And how would you like to see the future of yoga unfold for humanity, or even just for you and I?
I think I think yoga will, or there will always be space for in-person teachings, and because I think that cannot be replaced with the advancements in, people would look out for those in-person teachings, and that kind of one-on-one setting with another human, I think is very hard to replace. Though there will be, it will become more of a premium thing where there will be kind of um, for example, today we have a lot of the yoga industry is also online, where you have yoga classes where people watch on YouTube or they follow an app. And I think this is easily automatable with AI and the advancements in AI. So soon you would have just, AI avatars kind of taking over the online yoga space. And I think also you would have cheap, you maybe at some point, and people are saying with the next decade, AI is going to come to the industrial world, and so you would have probably robots that could also be teaching a yoga class, designed specifically keeping in mind various yoga postures and being able to lead a class. So I think it would make it kind of, you would have really cheap, easily available yoga classes which are being run by robots, and cheap online offerings which are run by robots, but you'll also have a market for people who are looking for personal connection. So that will, of course, still remain, who want to come for a retreat, who want a one-on-one teaching. And um, yeah, I think that uh, it's interesting to see how it's going to evolve and how things are going to unfold. I think there's also going to be a much larger number of people that are drawn to yoga and other wellness, simply because most people, I think, will be unable to deal with the acceleration of information that is going to come around with AI. And like already we are feeling the overwhelm with our tools and technology, and we spoke about this earlier, that most of us are struggling to deal with, all these new tools and technology, and now we are adding the layer of AI on top. And I think it to thrive in the world going forward, it's going to be all the more important to have clarity in mind, to have peace in our mind, and to just be calm and grounded. Because it's kind of like the way I see it, with especially with AI, is that AI is basically compressing the time it takes between having an idea and manifesting it in the world, which the internet also did quite a bit. And now with AI, especially when AI moves into the physical world, the material world, it's like you can have an idea, the AI can write the script, create the website, a robot can create the product, and you can ship it, or whatever, it's so the earlier you would have to hire a team, you'd have to raise money, you would have to. So I think it's in though there's a lot of fear around AI, I think it is going to have some short term or medium term repercussions and problems, but in the long term it's going to unleash kind of human creativity, because it's so hard to create something in the world. Anybody who's self-employed or will attest to that, right? And of course, it's become easier now, but I think with AI, it's going to be even more. It's just you haven't. It's just about being clear enough to create with clarity the life you really want, and AI is going to be able to do that for you.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
so I think yoga is going to be instrumental in us being able to leverage AI in the right way. Mhm.
Oh, epic, Rohil. You brought up so many good points. I mean, isn't it unbelievable that we're even at the point in life where I just heard you say robots and, you know what I mean? Robots teaching yoga? Like, and that seems so actually like about ready to happen by this afternoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas even like a week ago, I thought maybe it would be a month from now. Like that's, and I think that's the point that you're making with the compression of time. I like that insight about a human idea evolving and taking shape in the process that would take, and now having another life form being able to outpace our own creative processes at such a speed. That's so fascinating. But I do agree, because it seems like if it goes so much faster than the human can adapt to it, that having yoga might be the thing that potentially plays a large role in saving us, or saving our sense of wanting to stay engaged in this environment. I like that you are putting a very positive spin on it. I agree with you 100%, because I mean, I'm enthralled with all of it too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to run and hide into a cave at this point. I did try to do that in my early 20s.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, and especially as a dad, it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, there's no hiding. I'm in it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
in it. But I think it's important conversation to have, Rohil. Like, how is this going to play out? So I think you're on the right. I'm with you. I think we're on the right track here about
Yeah. I
the
think.
concentration, the ability to harness that awareness of
Mhm.
what do I want to do, and how do I access that?
Yeah, and I think it's also like what you're saying, it's very relevant, and we can already see we get a taster for what's to come with social media and the internet, because you have literally, if you think of the internet marketplace or the economy of which the internet has created, you have two sides of it. One side, which is the creators, and the other side, the consumers. And the creators are the ones who are focusing they are able to focus their mind on actually creating, say, whether it's content or creating things online. And there's a lot of people who are just consuming without creating. And those that are just consuming, they're just giving up their attention to with video games, pornography, or YouTube, Instagram, and so on, without being mindful about where they're giving their attention, where their attention as, again, coming back to attention as a resource, what are they getting in return for giving away their attention? Which people are not thinking about, because attention is the main currency here. And with AI, that's going to become even more pronounced. And so, unfortunately, I think a lot of people will struggle with AI, because they will be able to have, from it just being pornography on a screen, you could have a robot in person with you, or, so all your addictions and your patterns can be amplified, and it'll be so much harder. People will struggle so much more with their attention, with how they feel in their body. And but the winners are those who are going to be able to be creative and have focus in that whole. So literally, if I can pinpoint my awareness and make my focus so sharp and clear, I can essentially leverage those tools to make myself essentially like a superhuman, like a god, from that perspective.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
but
Oh my gosh, Rohil. Wow. Dude, I love it, man. Thank you so much. I want to be respectful of your time, and I realize that we're coming in on our hour together.
yeah.
Man, I love having these conversations because real quick, what do you think the percentage of content creators to consumers is? Do you think it's like 10% creators, 90? Do we have any insight into what that ratio is? Because you're absolutely right. I mean, once I was so fearful of it, and once I started to interact with it, and now I'm having a lot of fun with it, and the amount of growth that I'm feeling from like even this opportunity to see you on YouTube, you're creating content, you put content on there, I find you, I watch your videos, I say, wow, this guy's amazing, this is so cool, I want to meet him. And I write you an email across the other side of the globe, and you really graciously accept. And here we are. And I learned so much. I feel like I'm so grateful. I feel like I live in this little tiny place on earth. And now I'm able to connect with another, somebody who's in Bali, which is just the most amazing hub for a lot of incredible things. And so I wonder, does the whole world need to start creating content to then not feel overwhelmed? Do you know what I mean? If is it our job to now start training people how to get involved into the content world to then potentially not have people struggling so bad? But I don't know that that's the answer. It seems more the answer needs to be more toward yoga education and what you're talking about, like really understanding and cultivating inner awareness and self-love, healing, believing we can heal, remembering we can heal, community, family, like what you experienced going to India, and then having that switch hit where it's like, it's not just about me, it's about, I know I keep going on and on, but thank you,
I think
Rohil.
I agree with you that it's yoga, but I think also uh, I don't think everybody has to make content, but I think everybody has to be creative, because when we're in the process of creation, especially if it's something that aligns with our values and our um, our moral compass and so on. It's something that gives us purpose in life when we are creating, and when we are, of course, consuming also can be beautiful, because I can come across somebody's book or video or podcast which I really love, and I think uh, for me, I find that long form, and this is something I've come to the realization recently. So for the last few years, now I've stopped posting so much on Instagram, but I put a lot of effort into posting regularly on Instagram and making reels and so on. And I've realized that actually for me to be able to connect with others, I need to be putting more deep ideas out there, which kind of showcase more my entire thinking and so on. And I've been actually thinking a lot lately about starting a podcast as well.
Yes,
So
Rohil.
what are your tips and tools
Oh man,
for
I highly recommend it, Rohil. I
yeah.
highly recommend it. And already with what you're doing and the level that you're at, oh my gosh, I really highly recommend it. Mainly because I feel like for me, when I started it in 2020, it was right when the pandemic hit. And my wife and I have had our yoga studio here for, it's been 19 years. And so
Hmm.
we are so committed to keeping our center going that the pandemic was the biggest challenge that we'd faced as a small business and holding community together, which forced me to, okay, I have to use these technologies now. And but I agree with you, the long form, like, to be really honest, Rohil, I love doing this so much. Like, I really I don't even care if people are really paying attention to listening or not, which they are. But I actually enjoy doing this so much because I get to learn from you, right? Like, I feel so lucky because I get to reach out to people that maybe I would never have a chance to talk with and learn from.
Hmm.
So I agree
Yeah.
with you, having the more in depth. And I think that's where, even though we know the 2 second, 30 second, 5 second thing is what people are really consuming, like that's the diet, like
Hmm.
that's the carbs of the content
Yeah.
diet. The,
Yeah.
the protein or the I
Yeah.
don't know, the longer burning fuel house of it is where we can go deep like this and actually just
Yeah.
have time to talk and not be in such a hurry that we can't even, it takes time, even in this process of, I have to build your trust and you want to build my trust and we don't know each other. So we don't know, like, where's our intent coming from?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like the intent is the number one thing. Like, so when
Hmm.
even this morning when I woke up, my alarm went off at 5 a.m. and I'm like, okay, I gotta like get my brain going because I know Rohil's already had all day. It's like nighttime over there. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's had plenty of time to get some ideas simmering. I'm like, I gotta, and then just talking to my son and saying, just relax. I don't have to
Yeah.
worry. Like, just chill out, Todd. Like, just show
Yeah.
up. So I mean, I know I get so excited about this stuff, Rohil. So I think, based off of what you're saying and your love and passion for the history of yoga and having connection to India, I feel a lot of us that are wanting to learn more about yoga are really wanting to seek people that have been seeped in it and born in it from the birthplace of it. So I
Hmm.
think you have a lot to offer. So I would say 110% go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, Rohil, thank you so much for joining me today. I know I went on and on there, but thank you so much. And
No, I mean, I enjoyed the conversation and
uh,
I loved the questions you put to me. So it was really
yay.
nice. It flowed well. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait I'm going to continue watching and follow you. And I can't wait for your, just congratulations for your moving forward in your familial adventures. And
Yeah.
I really, truly wish you the best.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Todd. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Rohil.
having me on your show. Yeah.
Thank you.
And hopefully to see you at some point again in the future.
Absolutely, man. I'd love to have you
Yeah.
back. And is there anything that you would like to conclude with us in relation to any final words here?
So I think one thing that I was thinking about, which I didn't comment on, was
Please.
when you said that a lot of people don't want to bring kids into the world because of the state of the world and how it is today. Um, I don't know, maybe I'm just an optimist, but I think that the world has never been a better place to bring kids into than today. And of course, there are many problems, big problems, problems that probably no generation before has even faced at such a level. But at the same time, I think that if you stand at any point in history, and people will always say the same thing: the world is screwed, things are going to the dogs, and it's really bad. And I think it also depends where you stand along that chain. So I know, for example, a lot of people in India and here in Indonesia have a very positive outlook on where the world is headed. But a lot of friends that I have in Europe or the US have a more negative outlook. And I think it's just where the civilization stands, kind of, where people uh, have got to a state of kind of wealth and abundance and so on, which where they kind of forget or take for granted many things, and focus more on the things that they don't have or that aren't going well, instead of looking at the amazing abundance that they have generated for them. So I think yeah, that's at least my perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Rohil. That is so important to hear. That is really important to hear, because I agree. I think that's our job. We can foster appreciation.
Mm-hmm. And like you're creating the next generation who, so if you put the right values at the things, you're literally, creating a small light in the world, right? So
Yeah, man.
that's the most you can give. That's an amazing way you can contribute, I think.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rohil. I really appreciate it. Namaste.
Thank you, Cloud. Namaste.
Native Yoga Toddcast is produced by myself. The theme music is dreamed up by Bryce Allen. If you like this show, let me know. If there's room for improvement, I want to hear that too. We are curious to know what you think and what you want more of, what I can improve. And if you have ideas for future guests or topics, please send us your thoughts to info@Native Yoga Center. You can find us at nativeyogacenter.com. And hey, if you did like this episode, share it with your friends, rate it and review, and join us next time.